Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with another for fun build. We're back with Crit Kai'Sa but with Soul Transfer. So as you guys know, end of season, I decided to try out some different builds, kind of see how good they are. Now, I personally think that Crit is the better build for Kai'Sa right now, just going for that burst damage, one-shotty kind of build instead of going for on hit, which focuses a lot more on, staying in the backline and doing DPS. Now, on hit is still a great build, but as I said, I prefer just going for that burst damage. So now, normally you would go for that with Magnetic Blaster as your second item or first item in that guy's case, but normally I would go for it in the spot where Soul Transfer is right now. But I decided to just test out Soul Transfer because I never tried Soul Transfer out on Kai'Sa before, so I was thinking, you know what, why not just, try it and see how it works. And I'm gonna give my thoughts about what I think of it in the gameplay later on. But first, let's talk about the build. So firstly, you're going to start with the Bloodthirster, rushing it as the first item for that early AD as well as physical vamp and that shield. Of course, you don't want to complete boots on Kai'Sa first. You always want to go for a full item first to get your Q evolved as quickly as you can, and then go for boots as a second item. Now for the boots, you really have three options. Either you go for Gluttonous Greaves, or you go for the two defensive boots depending on if the enemy team is heavy AD or AP. Now if they're kind of even, I would go for Gluttonous Greaves. If they're heavy AD or AP, I would go for the respective defensive boots. So now here I have second item, Soul Transfer. Now Soul Transfer, of course, number one did just get nerfed, but number two, it scales off of your crit rate. So normally it sucks to build this as a second item, but the kind of issue is, if I don't build this as a second item, if I want to build IE and Mole Reminder, going for IE and or Mole Reminder, sorry, not and, but or, going for IE or Mole Reminder as a second item is kind of even worse, right? Like, IE is so cost inefficient as a second item when you only have 50% crit, and Mole Reminder is even worse as a second item because people have not yet built up their defenses, their armor, sorry, and you get so little stats from Mole Reminder. So ironically, the best second item option now becomes Soul Transfer because you at least get 25 AD and 30% attack speed from it, which is more useful than what you can get from the other two items, right? So of course with this one, whenever you crit a epic monster or a champion, you're gonna spawn those little ghosts that are gonna DPS for you as well. And you guys will see how useful it is later on in the gameplay. So then you have your classic IE for extra crit damage and Mole Reminder for armor pen and grievous wounds. And last item is very flexible. You can go for defensive options like GA or Maw, and you can also go for offensive options like Runans, for example. Like, I love Runans on Kai'Sa, but of course if you need defensive options, do go for that. Now runes, standard ADC loadout. Spells, flash. Normally you go with flash and cleanse. Now personally, I'm not a fan of ghost on Kai'Sa. I know some people like taking ghost on Kai'Sa, like the top couple of players. I personally don't really like ghost on Kai'Sa. I think that her ult is enough mobility and her E is enough mobility. I don't think you really need ghost. So normally I go for cleanse, and if I don't need cleanse, I'm gonna go for barrier or exhaust depending on the matchup and the situation. But with all that said, now let's look at the gameplay itself. Okay, so let's take a look at the gameplay itself. Now, obviously, you guys know this is going to be a pretty exciting game. This is one of the most fun Kai'Sa games I've ever played. Now, I feel that Kai'Sa can be a little bit of a hit or miss champion. There are those games that you can just fall behind, get stomped, and do nothing the entire game. There are games that you get fed, you just take over the entire game and just have so much fun just killing people non-stop. Of course, you do have the in-between where, like, you get fed and then you end up dying a lot in the mid and late game and you lose, or the opposite, which is also those fun games where you kind of get stomped a little bit in the early game, but you kind of farm it up and then get back into the game in the mid and late game and then retake over the game from there and become a force to be reckoned with. So this one is going to be one of those that are kind of like, I mean, actually, you know what, let me not spoil it, but I think you guys can probably guess which one it is already at this point. So here Leona flashes in onto the Varus. Varus flashes, which is an amazing trait for us because of course Leona has Hex Flash, Varus does not. So flash for flash trait, support versus enemy ADC is always an amazing trait. So I know this is going to be a pretty action-packed game. So before we get too much into the action, let me kind of just discuss Soul Transfer and if I think it's a good item. Now, do I think it's a good item for Kai'Sa? Yes, I do think it's a good item for Kai'Sa. I'm actually quite surprised about how much damage it actually did for me this game. Like, there are a lot of instances where I'm just there auto attacking and Soul Transfer is just proccing and then spawning those ghosties, and those ghosties are just doing a lot of free damage for me. You guys will see later on. I will point it out for you guys. However, do I think it's better than Magnetic Blaster? And honestly, the answer is no. I think Blaster is just superior to Soul Transfer because, as I said, Soul Transfer is a lot more of a DPS focused item, which is probably a bit more useful against tankier teams, which is not what I'm against here. The whole enemy team is squishy, and also if you're against a tanky team, you probably want to go on hit anyway because it's going to be overall just more useful than going for a crit. Right, so if you're going to go for crit, you're normally going to go for burst damage. And if you're going to go for burst damage, Blaster is just better for burst damage because you get that Storm Razor passive, which is going to deal a lot of additional damage. For you get the extra range for a bit of poke as well, and you also get better wave clear on the static shift passive. So overall, I just think Blaster is better. Now, a fight is breaking out here. Vera's getting caught completely. Does end up going down to Leona. Now I see a very low HP Zyra here, so I'm just trying to focus her. Now for some reason she walks back to take the fruit, which is a very critical mistake because that allows me to prop my passive onto her and get the kill on her. In the meanwhile, you can see under the tier 1 mid tower, a lot of shenanigans is happening with Nautilus and Leona both trying to dive, and unfortunately Galio and Leona both end up dying. Nautilus is now getting run down. Now I'm like 1 HP, so I'm not really going to be able to help him at all. So unfortunately, he goes down as well, and I'm just going to get a reset here. Like, by the way, guys, this is like an insane game for any ADC that loves Engage. I literally have a Leona, a Nautilus, and a Galio. Like, this could be an insane Samira game. In fact, it is an insane Kai'Sa game because Kai'Sa loves teams with CC. They help her charge up her passive, allow her to get the ults off. So it's a really good Kai'Sa game, really good Samira game. You know, really good for any ADC who just loves enemies to get CC. Which honestly is mainly these two. It's mainly Kai'Sa and Samira that loves, you know, CC. So here Leona running straight into the enemies. I'm level 5 already. Of course, the two of them are not because they've missed a wave and they've also both died. Leona now goes in. Galio goes in with the ulti, but Kindred is now here. Kindred is 1v3 focusing us at the moment. However, she gets chain CC'd by Leona and Galio and cannot ult, just dies. So that's another perk of having so much CC. Honestly, there is so much CC that if we chain CC Kindred correctly, we should be able to do that very often just because obviously, yeah. So here I'm able to dodge the Varus ultimate there, and Lissandra does CC me with the root, doesn't have her ulti, so I'm able to cleanse out of the root and just flash away. Now both summoner spells need to be popped there, unfortunately. However, no choice there. Here I get rooted on the tower, and a little bit of danger here because Lissandra now is out, Zyra is out as well. So I'm just trying to walk away. Zyra ults here, and I'm just willing to give up the plates just so that we don't die. I also have Bloodthirster on base, so I'm able to actually pick up my Bloodthirster and the Q Evolve here. If they overextend and continue to push the tower, we can actually go on them. However, it looks like they have retreated, and they have based as well. Alright, so here we still have a really decent lead. We're 2-0 and 1 now, pretty decently fed, and also hitting our first Iron Power Spike way before the first objectives spawn. So we're in really good shape right now, and we of course have a lot of engage, and that's just Kai'Sa's dream, right? You can ult from like 2 screens away and like just go in onto people when your team CCs them, which is just amazing. And here the wave is kind of stuck outside the enemy's tower, which is not really where we want it to be. However, thankfully they just straight up push it out, and we're in a really good spot now. So here we could actually freeze the wave if we wanted to, but unfortunately we actually let it crash, which is actually fine as well. So the wave is now going to get frozen here. Leona hits the ulti, and I'm just going to ult in, get off the burst damage combo. However, Varus ends up zoning me away with the root, so I'm going to have to just back off a little bit. My whole team is now here. I'm trying to get the wave so that we can dive. But my team doesn't look like they want to wait for the wave. The wave is now going to be crashing in real soon, and Nautilus is hooking in for the dive. Leona now goes in. However, a Zyra ult actually zones all 3 of us away from the dive, so unfortunately Leona straight up just dies there for naught, right? We didn't get anything, and Leona ends up just donating a kill. But I guess you could say it's really well played by the Zyra to put that zoning ulti. It zones all 3 of us away, so we couldn't really do anything about the situation there. So here I'm just going to one-shot the wave, pretty much one-shot the wave using my Q and a couple autos on the remaining minions. The objectives now both spawning. I'm going to look to base to get my boots. And the boots I want to pick up this game is actually going to be the magic resist boots. Now why? Because we have Gwen who's doing magic damage, we have Lissandra and Zyra who are also doing magic damage. Now I'm not sure what Varus is going to go for because he does have a Terminus first item. Most Varuses go for the AP build with Nash's 2 first item, so I guess this Varus is not building AP, but 3 AP threats, good enough, right? So here Leona gets the stun onto the Varus, allowing me to ult behind and just, you know, basically get rid of him. I don't even think I needed to actually cleanse there. Shield Bow not shieldable, Bloodthirster passive procs, and Zyra trying to run for the hills. Leona's able to finish the kill before she can get to safety. And here, honestly, I was kind of guessing that Kindred might be doing the dragon here and just ignoring the fight, so I actually didn't necessarily want to push this, but we're just gonna push it anyway because honestly, I believe with Leona beside me and with her CC, I think we are fine against Kindred. So even if Kindred comes, I think we just, as long as we walk out of the tower, we're absolutely fine. And Kindred isn't even actually here. Now Kindred is actually farming her jungle right now, as we can see from the vision. Now Varus is stepping up. I don't think you want to do that, brother. So he's just tanking all the damage now. Almost kills me, to be fair. But we do end up killing him without too big of an issue. And he even, yeah, he even just respawned to just die again. So a little bit unfortunate for him there. Thanks for coming, buddy. We're now 4-2, and you can kind of see where this is going, why this is such a fun Kai'Sa game. Because really, when you get fed, and when you have a team like this, to just CC for you, not only are you going to be able to proc your passive more easily, but you're pretty much going to be able to choose whether you want to join fights or not. Right? Like here you can see my team is in a fight, and Nautilus gets some CC onto the Kindred. I can just ult in like this. I'm just gonna ult over, and Kindred unfortunately is stuck on 1 HP. Lots of damage. For some reason, the Sandra walks out of the Kindred ult, so we get a free kill onto her. Now I know I'm gonna die here, but I'm gonna be able to trade the kill onto the Varus, and Gwen unfortunately takes a huge shutdown, and Gwen is kind of becoming the main issue here on the enemy team. Right, she's 4-1-4, and is definitely getting pretty fed, just a little bit behind me. And Lissandra, of course, the next most fed person who has a ton of CC as well. So Cleanse definitely going to come in handy in this game. Now we have respawn, and a huge wave is actually accumulating in the bot lane. So I just really want to get those minions. We see Kindred here, and I think that I was a little bit ambitious because I don't think Kindred was in there anymore. She's actually trying to recall there, but you know, we're just gonna let it slide. And here, Leona, I think, is looking for Varus, right? Now, I think Varus is either recalled in the bush where I just passed, or he has run away to safety. And it turns out he has run away to safety because he just whacked Leona with an E to the head right there. And Leona just takes a little bit of poke, but pretty much still full health, so not too important there. So here, we get the soul transfer completion and the E evolve at the same time. And we're going to now be able to, well, I guess do more damage with the soul transfer and also kind of see how the soul transfer works. So here you can see soul transfer already proccing and blasting the Kindred together with me. I'm just going to ult over. Now here I think I played this right pretty well. I flash into the Kindred zone to make sure I don't die, and then we just burst down the Kindred and then burst down the Varus, and we pick up a double kill while surviving. So I think pretty nice, all things considered. Another wave is kind of accruing in bots. I'm actually going to go over, take the fruit to regain some of my health. By the way, guys, actually on the replay, I realized it's not as good as I thought it was because I didn't actually need to flash into the Kindred zone because I was already in the Kindred zone. But I guess, you know, with all of the sparkles, I just can't see what's going on. So I didn't even need to flash there actually. So maybe not as good as I thought it was, but yeah, so here my team is getting into a huge fight in the enemy at the enemy tier 2 tower. I don't really know if that's where we want to fight. So here I'm taking the Hex Gate. I'm making my way over because there's always a chance I can ult. No, I don't actually have ult, but there's always a chance I can kind of turn the fight, right? So I was gonna go mid, and I realized the fight is still going, and my team is kiting toward me. So there's a possibility that I can actually help them out. Now Aurora looks like she's going in for like a flank and burst, so I'm just kind of in the area, but she ends up getting caught instead and has to flash away. Now with that, she gets caught by the Verisol. I don't think I can really do anything to help her, so I'm gonna just walk away. Right, I do have my ult, but I'm not gonna ult into 3 people there, and that's probably gonna cause my death. So yeah. So here Varus is very dangerously walking to river. Nautilus almost recalling, catches the Varus off guard, and I spot this about to happen. So I'm actually able to ult in and just finish off the Varus, like, you know, just having fun there. And Zyra launches her combo, but I cleanse, but I actually don't think I needed to cleanse because I'm not in any danger, and she also only has a Rylai, so she basically does no damage at this point. So here we're just clearing the mid wave. Gwen is on the left side. Baron is up. Dragon's coming up soon. and we're looking to just go for the Baron with Varus dead and the dragon coming alive. This is a prime time to attempt a Baron because most of the time enemy teams get distracted by the dragon. However, Nautilus is our jungler and he is not cooperating. Literally everybody except Nautilus is here at the Baron. And Nautilus is just not interested in the Baron. He wants the dragon. Kindred also is going for the dragon. So at this point, I realize there's no point going for the dragon when there's no one going for the Baron when they're not helping, right? So here, I'm just going to go to the dragon. You can see the soul transfer just putting in a shift there. And here we're just going to go for the fight, right? Sniping out the Varus. If anyone CCs, I'm going to be able to ult in. Unfortunately, no CC is being applied, so I can't ult in. But with the picks onto the enemy jungler and ADC, this means that we can actually just hit over to the Baron, and this should be a relatively free Baron as long as my team all go for it, right? So here, you can see Soul Transfer. Another thing it helps out with is also just to DPS objectives, right? That's one thing that Soul Transfer does very well and definitely does better than any of your other items. Helping to DPS objectives is just really good. Now here I completely mess up because I wanted to ult over the wall, but I end up getting stuck on the wrong side of the wall. Now thankfully Gwen just face checks toward me, and here I realize that this is a fight I need to be in. So I flash over the wall, get the double kill, and I'm going for more. Hook goes in onto Varus. I'm just trying to DPS down the Varus, which we are going to be able to get him, I think. Barely. We actually barely get him. And we end up getting the kill and end up having a relatively positive outcome. Now that ult was pretty horrendous. Like I was trying to ult over the wall there, but I end up ulting basically walking distance. So basically I only benefit from the shield. I don't actually get the mobility. But you know, from time to time you do kind of mess up your ult just a little bit. So, one of the skills of playing Kai'Sa is having to aim your ult very quickly, and that's one time where I kind of failed. Normally, it's kind of okay because I've been playing Kai'Sa for a long while. It's my most played champion in Wild Rift, and I do think I'm quite decent on Kai'Sa. But unfortunately, that's one of the times where you miss aim your ultimate, and you end up at the wrong position. So very poor repositioning by me from the ulti. But at the end of the day, it kind of semi works out. I did have to blow my flash there unnecessarily. And you can see my team is kind of attracting a lot of attention in the mid lane. So this gives me just free reign to just push in the bot lane tower here. Now Lissandra is now here to defend, so I'm just going to back off and look into the enemy jungle to see if there's any camps. There isn't. So I'm just going to retreat now to my own jungle and going to remove this control ward, pick up this skull crab, and just continue on farming. Now, it looks like a fight is going to happen at the top lane there with Galio and Nautilus looking like they're getting caught out. So I immediately realized this, so I'm going to just quickly take the Hex Gate up there and see if I can help them out. However, Galio and Nautilus both die before I'm actually able to do anything. So I don't want to walk into 4 people just by myself. And Aurora is a very slippery champion who probably just wants to one-shot someone, so I'm not very confident to walk in with Aurora either. So I'm just going to go back to farming. In this case, it's farming the Gromp. Now, Kindred looks like she's going to get caught out by Leona here, so I'm just waiting for that to happen. And here, I'm just going to go in on her. She pops the ulti, but it's only a matter of time before she dies. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to ult over, but actually I didn't need to ult over because Aurora was actually already on the other side of the wall, which I didn't notice. I actually thought that was an enemy. And here, we're going to have to melee range Gwen a little bit so we can actually do damage to her while kiting away again. We get the kill onto her. Now, Lissandra has used up all of her CC onto my teammate, so here I'm just blasting her. Now here, unfortunately, I can't really reach the Varus who I want to hit, so I'm hitting the Kindred instead, and both of them are 1 HP, but I end up dying. Now, maybe I should have flashed to the Varus and killed him, and then turned back around the Kindred, because basically I was left in an awkward situation where I'm getting blasted by 2 ADCs, and I can't kill either of them. So if I maybe flashed to Varus and got out of the Kindred range, I could have maybe killed Varus, and then turned around and bursted the Kindred down. So maybe in terms of micro-wise, they definitely could have done something better there. Don't know if that would have worked out, but definitely that would have had a better chance of working out than what I did there, which obviously did not work out. Just trying to kill somebody, anybody, but nobody's dying. Yeah, so that's definitely not the way. So here, both Baron and Dragon are spawning again, and it's going to be Dragon Soul for my team. And Nautilus, yeah, really wants that. So Galio now ulting in. We have Aurora joining the fight. There's a huge wave here. I really want this wave. So I see my team is basically winning the fight, and I'm like, you know what? They probably don't need my help. Let me just pick up this huge wave, which is worth like more than a kill's worth of gold anyway. Galio tries to get the fruit, but unfortunately he does so while I'm walking by, and I take the fruit by accident, which is not too hard. Now the fight continues. CC obviously being applied, which allows me to ult in and just burst down the Gwen. And then Lissandra tries to get away. She pops the ulti, but what can she really do here? W into auto finishes off the kill, and we also pick up the dragon. Now, the kind of issue of Baron here is the fact that our jungler is dead. The whole enemy team is dead. Um, as well. So maybe it could be time for Baron. So I see the situation. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I think we can do it in time because I'm basically 100% crit at this point. I have Soul Transfer to burst down the Baron. So with Leona tanking, I do believe I can just DPS the Baron down. And Galio comes in just to help out a little bit as well. And we do indeed pick up the Baron without any issue, right? Not like Kindred was actually coming to contest, so no real big threat there. Now we back, we pick up a stasis just to help out with any possible burst damage we might encounter. We also have the Ocean Soul, which again is not the most useful, but just some extra healing. Never hurt anyone. So here we're actually building into Runan's Hurricane. Now, you could argue that maybe Runan's Hurricane may not be the way to go here. Maybe a Maul would just be better considering how much AP the enemy has, and I would agree with you. But Runan's is just more fun, right? So we're gonna go for that. Leona with the ult in onto the Zyra. Zyra is gonna get one shot. Varus unfortunately gets the ulti to disengage, and the ulti spreads to myself and then to Aurora, who has her crown popped. Here I'm just being a bit cautious because I still have the Varus stacks on me. However, ends up being all good. We kill the Varus, and then we have Gwen who just gets destroyed as well. Kindred cannot survive under the tower, and that's going to be it for the game. But before we end the game, we must kill the Lissandra with all that chain CC, and then we get the end of the game here. So you can see why this game was so fun. I'm gonna leave you guys with the stats as usual, and goodbye.